What was your first thought ever? Right now, stop for a second. Think about your earliest memory. Maybe it's a birthday. Maybe it's your first day at school. Maybe it's a random moment that somehow stayed with you for years. Now go even further back. Further. Further. Eventually, you hit a wall. A point where everything disappears. And that raises a strange question. What was your first thought ever? Not your first memory. Not your first word. Your first thought. The very first moment that happened inside your mind. At first, this sounds like an impossible question. After all, nobody remembers being born. Nobody remembers being a few months old. And yet every person who has ever lived must have had a first thought. Including you. So, what was it? To answer that, we need to go back to the beginning. Before language. Before memories. Before you even knew you existed. When you were born, your brain was already incredibly active. Billions of neurons were forming connections. Your eyes could detect light. Your ears could hear sounds. Your skin could feel warmth and cold. But here's the strange part. Scientists don't think newborn babies think the way adults do. Not even close. Right now, your thoughts are made of words. You can silently speak inside your head. You can ask yourself questions. You can imagine the future. A newborn can't do any of that. Language doesn't exist yet. Concepts don't exist yet. The world isn't divided into objects, people, and places. It's just a flood of sensations. Light, sound, touch, warmth, movement. Imagine waking up in a universe where you don't know what anything is. You don't know what a face is. You don't know what a sound is. You don't know what a hand is. Everything is completely new. That's what life may have been like at the beginning. Which means your first thought might not have been a thought at all. It may have been something much simpler. A feeling. Think about it. Long before a baby can understand words, it can experience comfort, warmth, safety, connection. Researchers believe babies begin recognizing familiar voices before they're even born, especially their mother's voice. That means one of the earliest experiences in your life may have been recognizing something familiar, not with words, not with logic, but with emotion. Maybe your first thought wasn't, "Who am I?" Maybe it was something closer to, "I feel safe," or "I know this." Of course, we'll never know for sure, because the human brain has another strange feature: infantile amnesia. This is the reason almost nobody can remember the first few years of life. Your brain was working, you were learning, you were experiencing the world. But the systems responsible for forming long-term memories weren't fully developed yet. It's like writing a story before the notebook exists. The experiences happened, but most of them were never stored in a way you could later remember. And yet they shaped everything. Every fear, every preference, every habit, every relationship. Pieces of your future were being built before you could even remember they happened, which creates another fascinating possibility. Maybe the first important thing your brain ever learned wasn't language. Maybe it was trust, or curiosity, or love. Think about how babies interact with the world. Everything is interesting. Everything is worth exploring. A shadow on the wall, a strange sound, a moving object, a smiling face. In many ways, babies are natural scientists. They spend every waking moment collecting information, testing ideas, learning patterns, trying to understand reality. And maybe that's when the first true thought appeared. Not a sentence, not a memory, a question, a tiny spark of curiosity. What is that? What happens if I touch it? Why did that happen? Questions that would eventually grow into the person you are today. Because every thought you've ever had can be traced back to those first moments. Every dream, every fear, every goal, every decision. Everything began somewhere, with a mind slowly waking up to reality. And maybe that's why this question is so fascinating. Not because we can answer it, but because we can't. The first thought you ever had is probably lost forever, hidden behind time, hidden behind memory, hidden inside a version of yourself that no longer exists. And yet, without that first thought, none of the others would have happened. So, what was your first thought ever? Maybe it was comfort. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was simply awareness. The truth is, nobody knows, and perhaps that's exactly what makes it such a beautiful mystery, because every person on Earth has had a first thought, but nobody remembers it, including you.